I don't even know if I'm gonna make that into a video. I just felt like I was just chilling, clicked record. I was gonna say some stuff, but then I just didn't even feel like speaking. But yeah, I mean, if I do even upload this and someone's watching this, then how did that make you feel? Was you skipping? Was you waiting for me to say something? Did you feel uncomfortable? Was you trying to fill the gap? Fill the void? Was you feeling agitated? Like, the closer you get to these states, you can almost measure by your capacity for resting in stillness, in silence, in the void, with no need for action. Because action, I would almost suggest to you that all action is corrective in nature. Every action you take, even if you think you're going towards something good or you're trying to get that thing, every action is corrective. So, for example, you always think there's something wrong which needs to be corrected, so you do something to correct it. So, like I have this much amount of money. I think that I should have this much. So that's wrong. Like the amount of money I have is wrong to what it should be. So I'm gonna do something to correct that. Or it's raining, so that's wrong. So I'm gonna use my umbrella to correct that. Or it's too hot outside. The sun's too, so that's wrong. So I'm gonna sit in shade and put on a hat and wear sunglasses. Or I'm single right now. That's wrong. So I'm gonna go to the club, or I'm gonna go somewhere and try and meet some people. You know what I'm saying? Get in a relationship. So every direction you're going. Remember, everything in a dream, it has a direction. So everywhere you're going, you're trying to complete yourself because you're always incomplete, and you think that's wrong. You're trying to complete yourself. So every situation you're in the relative plane, there's something to complete, make better for this self. Yes, it's true. Like there's always something you could always like make yourself better, be more fit, more something. You could always. So it's everything is just corrective in nature. So, but then once you have realized the absolute, obviously, even once you've realized the absolute and you are outside the dream, yes, even then, still this microcosm character can still develop more. But at that point, it's just kind of catching up to your real self because you're kind of already there in your real essence. But at that point, as I said, you're resting in eternity. So remember how I was explaining, like a billion, a million, a trillion years, it happens in an instant in eternity, and a trillion years is the same as a second or microsecond. It's just a unit, zoomed in, zoom out. So that was only just me 10 minutes just sitting there, but could have been for an hour, 2 hours. This is what these yogis do, will sit in for days in silence. And then like in this modern kind of matrix that we're in, everything, it's the addiction to stimulation. That's what it is. Like it doesn't even matter if it's the internet or this or smoking or overeating or this or that or whatever the fuck it is. It's always stimulation. You always need some kind of stimulation. So one of the main methods as well is just simply do nothing method. Rest in symmetry. But when they're saying do nothing, like people, as I said, they think they're chilling. Sometimes they get home from work, they think they're chilling, but you're still like, you're having a beer, or you're chatting with your friends, or you're speaking, or you're on social media, or you're watching a film or something. There's still always something. So you have to kind of practice just resting in actual silence. Like obviously my phone by accident, because obviously as I said, I didn't even plan this. I just clicked record it. I just felt to click record, I can start recording. And so I didn't even have anything. But if you was actually trying to do this properly, you could like just put your phone on silent, put the internet off, turn the Wi-Fi off. You're just sitting there just pure in silence for an hour, 2 hours, see how long you go. I guarantee most of you, because of all you're going to even be struggling after 10, 15, 20 minutes. As I said, this video was only 10 minutes and you probably already started getting uncomfortable at the 1 or 2 minute mark. What's he doing? Is he going to say something? Started clicking, started skipping. I guarantee most of you probably skipped to this. See, that's already showing you that you don't need, your capacity to handle the void is so small. Like, so as you're gaining in these states of consciousness, you're increasing the capacity so like in such a mad way. And one of the things, I wasn't even going to go deep into this. I'm not even going to make this into some mad long video or something, because this wasn't even going to be a video. But like, people think, yeah, that like going up in consciousness is just only just like this. People think that going up in consciousness, one second. What the fuck? Yeah, they think like it's only just going up like this, and you're not getting nothing down. Like, that's kind of what you think it is, right? Like, people have this idea, oh, you're gonna get awake and then you're just gonna be up in the clouds and everything's gonna be bliss, and that is true. I'll explain the bliss and that later. See, and you already have to be in that state of bliss, in that Satchitananda, that just that absolute balance to be able to contain that void. Otherwise, you're already, it's so like, you know what I'm saying, fidgety and like, what's that word? Like neurotic. But actually, what it's kind of like, yeah, for as you're kind of increasing your capacity, it's almost more like, because remember, as I said, everything is the void. So as you're increasing, kind of increasing in capacity, and like as you're increasing in consciousness and you're experiencing way higher peaks than anyone else has ever experienced. Like, you could kind of imagine, right? Like the usual person, like just in this analogy, like they're operating in such a minute bandwidth, right? Like, their thing is still zero. They still have oscillations, but it's such a minute bandwidth. Like that little thing, when that highlight in their life, when they, you know what I'm saying, married their high school sweetheart or something, or they got that promotion, and that little peak, like, it's just such a small, because it's so shallow on the surface. But then imagine you're on this journey, right, and you're really like trying to hit these peaks, increase your capacity to see way more. It's still at zero, but your pitch is going up. But then people think it's only nice and joy, but you have to actually, as you're increasing, you're equivalently experiencing like the lowest lows. You're experiencing lows lower than anyone else has experienced, and highs higher than anyone else has experienced. So and it will still be equivalent to zero. So what the fuck? But yeah, like, and it's not even like that this is caused by some external thing. It's just at this point you're just in such a, like, as I said here, like these other people, it's like their mind is blocking out so much information because it can't even handle it. So it's just like at such a small, ignorance is bliss. Like there's, you know what I'm saying? So like, if they was experiencing what you was experiencing in that moment of time, they will get fried in an instant, in a millisecond, will just get fried out. But then, like, as you're experiencing way higher peaks, and then you're experiencing equally lower lows, so it's insane. And then at a certain point, I'd kind of say, you could kind of even draw it kind of like, you could almost draw it like, this is where you kind of hear about enlightenment or whatever, and then first, obviously, even like to get to here, there's already going to be like a mad pre-stage to where first you're going to try and learn it intellectually. You're going to misunderstand it. Start to finally get it, like after already 5 or 10 years, you might have to start getting a bit of traction, and then hello, yeah, and then let's say now here as you go along, you're increasing your capacity and bandwidth to see, like, compute more information. You're downloading more of the akashic records, or the, you know what I'm saying, what's always there in the ether, so to speak. um and then, like, at a certain point, you can say you kind of hit that peak, which you could almost say is enlightenment, so to speak. And then after that, it's not done there, but then after that, it's all about like the integration and like the dissipation. And then it's only like fully in self realization once you kind of merge back and it dissipates right back into the void completely. And like it's like you're slowly peeling off all your layers, and then it's just merging back into the void. But now it's like with the knowledge again, so it's kind of like the complete cycle. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, fuck it. I'm gonna just carry on speaking for a bit. So I think I'm gonna speak a bit just about the void. I think that's basic. It's just the nature of the void. Like, obviously it has no attributes, so it's difficult to speak about. It can't really be spoken about. It's hard to describe it. Everything I say about it is, in a sense, wrong. It's not that. That's kind of even why that thing that I was just sitting in silence. Um, it's almost like um, obviously I'm not saying this is 100% accurate, but like this is another analogy you could kind of, like, you could almost imagine, and this is gonna sound strange here, but like imagine God or the self. Just, it doesn't even need to think about God, but just imagine like just a conscious being with infinite power. It's there. It's true. It exists. It's the only thing that exists. Like nothing, like everything that it can imagine other than itself is it. So like it can do everything, but in a sense, the only thing it can't do, which is gonna sound fun, like it's a paradox, because like it's like all powerful, but then it seems like its own power limits itself. It's strange, loopy, but it's almost like it can do everything, but the only thing is that it can't escape itself, because it itself is everything. It's infinite. So you would even, like, from those previous videos, you would think, oh, like, why would he have created the devil to create falsehood and create the world and everything that doesn't exist? And why is this all this illusion? Like, if there's nothing here, then why does it seem like there's stuff here? Why is there a strong suggestion like that there's stuff and that there's the world and stuff? Like, and it sounds so stupid, but in a sense, you'd think like, like, surely, like, if God is everything and it's pure bliss and pure contentment and so on and so forth, like, it'll just be chilling there as the void or something. But in a sense, because it has the capacity for consciousness and it already knows everything for all of eternity. Like, imagine you're just there. You're actually a conscious being. You're actually conscious, and you're just here, and it's only you for eternity, and there's just nothing in the void. You're just there for eternity. Just actually imagine just you. Like, you could almost just, like, for because we're humans, right? Or we think we're humans. So just for a reference for you, like, you could just imagine, like, in the solitary confinement. It's just you in a dark room, like just by yourself forever. Like you can't die and you're conscious. You can't die and you're conscious, and there's just no stimulation, nothing. It's just there, just a void forever. So actually, just think about that. Just imagine that. You know how people go, like they go mentally insane in solitary confinement, and they start imagining, they start speaking to themselves or start speaking to imaginary people and start making shit up because they're trying to fill up that gap, the void. So this is almost like God is trying to fill itself up, like it is there, right? And it's got infinite power, so it has nothing to like stopping it from creating everything. And in a sense, God, it sounds fucked, but in a sense, God was bored. Like, why does everything exist, right? Because, like, remember how I said everything is acausal, and so in the relative plane, everything is kind of just pragmatic, kind of. It's like, oh, like this thing, like we created this because it's useful. I can use it as tape. So everything is a tool. Everything that has a reason, like, oh, what's your purpose? Like everything has a purpose, and then that purpose has another purpose, and then oh, I use that tape to do this, and then why? So it looks good for that person. So when they see it, oh, it looks nice, and then joy for them. Oh, and then that's good. So and then they're gonna like me, and then they might do something for me in the future, and then oh, it's just, everything is for everything else. Remember, everything is where it isn't, and everything. You know what I'm saying? So everything is just a process. Everything is just like for what it can get me, and so on and so forth in this relativistic plane. But in the absolute, everything is acausal and creates itself. So like in a sense, what that means is that everything is for its own. Everything is for its own reason. Like why does death exist? It's so that people can die. Why does life exist? It's so that people can live. Um, like, like pain is painful. Like, everything is too. How can I put it? It's so direct and simple, but it's too simple for the mind to grasp, and it's also the ramifications. Like for example, something what you, because remember everything is self-biased. So what someone will refer to as good is completely relative. What I might say is good, someone else will say is bad. And then obviously there's consensus reality, and there's things where we might overlap and agree and so on. And then in the matrix, we kind of say, oh yeah, that's more true. Like if we can all agree on that, then yeah, it's that. But um, let's just say there's something that you would refer as good, like oh, I don't know, a good economy, everyone's living nice and order and so on and so forth, and fun times, good times. Um, all of that, right? Um, yeah, it's easy for you to accept. For example, like if like someone you love or something like gives you like a gift, or you buy someone you love a gift, or you do something nice for them or whatever. Like what was the whole reason? Like love, like what's love and all this goodness is like you'll do something just for its own sake. Like for example, you watch football. Like if you're a football fan and you watch the game or you play football, or like you do sport, like something that you truly love, you're doing it for its own sake, not to get something else. So it's easy for the human because remember we already have biases because we're this body and we must survive. So it's necessary. If we didn't have biases, we would die. If you didn't have a bias for like pleasure against pain, like if you liked pain just as much as pleasure, you would be dead. right now, you'll be dead. Yeah, so like it's necessary for us to have that, but it doesn't mean that it's correct and true. Um, so it's easy for us to accept what we refer to as good as, oh yeah, like yeah, I could imagine that God created that or something for His own reason, like love, like and happiness and these things, like they just exist just because they're good, right? But then what we can't accept is things like war, like um, just malnutrition, poverty, and just injustice and all kinds of wickedness. Like we just we can't fathom how, like, we always, for that we we're always trying to justify it. We always think, oh, there must be some other reason like behind it to justify it. Um, because like it's just too bad and wrong. Like there's no way it's just like for its own reason. Like there has to be some other reason. Like it was a punishment, or it was like, I don't know, it was God's divine plan, or something like that. Like um, but the thing is, as I said, that God has no form, and it sounds so fucked. But from God's point of view, God has no bias over happiness over sadness. Like it's like you could say it's experiencing life through us, and it equally likes the pain as the pleasure. It equally likes suffering, and like it equally likes losing and winning. Like it's just not only biased just to winning as we are, like from survival, if you get what I'm saying. Um, because it doesn't need to survive. It doesn't have a form, so it doesn't need to survive. There's nothing that it needs to reject to defend itself. So it's just like accepting of everything. Like it's like, as I said, God's hands off the wheel. So you could say God's infinite love. Like only God's love is conditional. All humans love, like we speak about, oh yeah, like humans are like, even some people might even say their parents love them unconditionally. No, that's absolutely a lie. Humans are not capable of unconditional love. Like, what does that mean to love unconditionally? What does it mean to love? Like, it's pure acceptance of of a thing for what it is, exactly for what it is. You don't want it to change at all. Remember how I say everything is correct, all actions are corrective in nature. And then why was I saying to rest in stillness and so on? Because only I'm trying to increase your capacity for love, infinite unconditional love, to where you can just sit and accept a thing for what it is instead of trying to correct it. Oh no, that's wrong. Let me try and fix it. That's everything we're trying to do. It's a compulsion. I gotta fix it. No, wait. I'm sitting down for 5 minutes. No, I gotta do this thing and fix my bills. Oh no, wait. I still gotta do this assignment. Oh, if it doesn't happen, it's gonna be the end. Like, your mind, it acts as if like it's a life and death situation. If you don't fulfill this assignment, if you don't do this thing, like, it's nothing. It's nothing. It's just your mind just wants to keep you busy. Just everything you're doing is running from the void. You're trying to fill the gap. You're trying to fill it. You can't handle the space. You can't handle just the intensity of the void, of just nothingness, no meaning, no nothing. Yet you're still here, and you just can't. You can't accept it. You think, no, there has to be a purpose. Like, I must be trying to get to heaven. I must be like, oh, I've got to help the people. Let me be a good person, and the God's gonna like reward me. Like, you think that there's some kind of thing. There's just nothing. It's just for its own, literally just for itself. Like, it's just for its own like reason. Like this video, like, or like, I don't know, like why does anything exist? Well, it's just for its own purpose, not for any other reason other than itself. So yeah, but then, as I said, why we would kind of reject this is because we think, oh no, like surely God, like it's all good. So like like if it was, there's no way it would create torture and suffering and pain and war just for its own purpose, just to enjoy it. Like we would think like that's some devilry stuff like that. That's sick. And from our perspective, like because our love it has to be conditional. It has to be too small because we can't allow certain things because otherwise people will just exploit us. Someone will run over you. Like if you remember I was speaking about a leaf in the wind and all that. If you're a leaf in the wind, you're just gonna be exploited. People are just gonna run over you, just exploit you. Just you know what I'm saying? So we almost can't allow that. But remember that's because of survival. And as I said, God has no form. It has nothing to protect. So it's just like it has no absolute bias over life, over death, or pain or pleasure or anything at all. Like it's just there. It just loves it all. It just loves it. It just like it's fucked. Like it's like, and it's not really fucked, but like, and then I was gonna explain what's really bliss. Obviously, yes, like people would say, ignorance is bliss, and as I kind of describe that for the people, but really what I'm saying is Satchitananda, and like when you get to these realizations, what the real bliss is, it sounds fucked, and I didn't really fully understand this before, but when I really looked at it, like bliss, like it's actually almost the merging of pleasure and pain. Like even, you know, like that certain times the emotion of like melancholy or bittersweet is kind of like, it has this kind of richness, like it's like it's so good it hurts. Like that's kind of like the bliss, like what, and that's another thing. Once you kind of realize these peaks, like why I say peaks and valleys, why it's called peaks and valleys. Like when you even realize the peaks, like once you've hit the peak, once you've really been at that absolute peak, like the peak of existence, of life, of absolute, this is the truth, the peak, the top. You can't like go above that, like the peak. Actually, the peak. When you've been there, like you're gonna actually understand. Like everything you're chasing in your life, like that thing, like it was a peak. Like you're trying to kind of hit a peak. Everything, dopamine, everything is a peak. It's a peak. Like in comparison to your baseline, it's always just in comparison to your baseline. So it's a peak. It's a peak. Like, and that peak might be higher than that one, and so on and so forth. It's always just chasing peaks. But then every peak you get gives you an equivalent valley, which you're not conscious of, and then as you're chasing the peaks, you're giving yourself more and more pleasure, and the more peaks you're trying to. So what you kind of realize that, like, actually at the peak is that the definition and what a peak actually is, its nature is that once you hit the peak, you can't go above that. It's only down from there. So everyone's trying to chase the peak, think they want to peak and peak and peak, but then like what you don't get is like the peak. Like just by definition, when you're at the peak, it's only down. There's nothing above that. So like at that point, yeah, once you kind of start to like transcend these things, you're gonna no longer be chasing peaks, and then you're gonna try and like integrate it back into just like equilibrium again, even though it was already at equilibrium, but it was like you went into such wild deviation. So like that's kind of almost like the masculine and the feminine as well, is that you can kind of think of the masculine as just the baseline, the void, the all eternity sameness line. Right, like that's like the Shiva. It's just that line, the non-thing line, and then the Shakti is like the wow, or like so like that's the masculine, just the truth, the core, and then the female, like even like emotions, wildness, like and beauty, like it's beautiful, like it's wild, it's amazing. But the feminine is the wild, chaotic fluctuations, which are like it's only beautiful when it's anchored in the truth. Like if there's no masculine or truth to kind of anchor it, it can go wild and create all kinds of chaos. Like it's almost chaos. Like the world, like the fluctuations, the oscillations, is almost like the embodiment of chaos. That's kind of the feminine energy. Like, and it's not wrong or anything like that, but like, and then the masculine is just complete like order, if you get what I'm saying. One is equal to one, and then that's like all the oscillations and like the most beautiful forms. Everything that we like and enjoy is, in a sense, like a feminine. It's like an oscillation, but anchored, is still balanced in the thing, and then you get like a beautiful form, like where it's like, you know what I'm saying, it's like it's balanced, it's true, but it's beautiful. Like it's not like chaotic and ugly and whatever. Like it's just like in this peak. Like that moment is, like as I said, it is the peak, and you can't sustain it, and you realize that point, because no peak can be sustained, because it's almost like concentrated life. Like it's like you're burning through like such, like remember I was telling you about the charge, like the amount of life energy that you're burning through in that moment. It's like you're burning through multiple lifetimes in a millisecond. It's like concentrated life. You're at the peak, like the charge is so high, like the magnitude, the scale, like to encapsulate the whole thing in the instant. yeah. So like, as I said, it can't be sustained. But the beauty in this moment, in that peak, like it can't even be like communicated. It's just like it'll bring you to tears. Like you're just gonna be floored. You're just gonna like it's just wow. Like you'll realize that like it sounds fucked. Like in the mundane life, as I said, we're here suffering and so on, but you realize in that point that everything is absolutely worth it. Like because the scale is balanced, no far how far it deviates, no matter how low or severe the cost was, it will always kind of be worth it in the end. So yeah. So yeah, it's just about like kind of increasing your capacity for being accepting of what is any condition, unconditional, moving from conditional love. Oh, I love this thing. Like I love this particular form because like is this color. I like that color. I like this color, not that color. See, that's conditional. I like people say, oh, they like they love unconditionally. Everything, all the love in humans is conditional. Like even if your girlfriend or whatever, like you've been with them forever, but if they cross that line or they cross that boundary, like you might think, oh, you don't have one. They'll be, but there's a certain boundary that they'll cross that you know what I'm saying. It can't. So everything's conditional, but. And I'm not saying become just a leaf in the wind or so on. So as you're in this body and you need to survive, you need to. There's certain boundaries you have to keep. But like once if you're in a room, sitting in a room by yourself, there's no actual threat to your actual physical body at that point, and you put your phone on thing. But then at that point, your ego, your psychological self, that's what's going to be screaming. That's what's going to really like. Even though your body is in no like real fear or danger, your psychological self, like after 20, 30 minutes, an hour of no simulation, just sitting there, you're gonna start going crazy. It's like because it's your psychological self, it's your ego, your self-image. That's really like your mental construction. Remember, the map is not the territory, but you right now, you think that you're the map of yourself. Like you have an image, a map in your head of yourself, and you think that you're that, but you're not that. But like that's what's basically gonna be dying, and like it's gonna be suffering whilst you do this because it feeds on stimulation. Like you need to always give it information. You always need to give it like a direction, something that you're looking at, something like a stimulation or something. Like so when you just kind of just still, just nothing. And then you can even like notice tension. I try to breathe out, let go of tension. You'll kind of realize a certain compulsion to move, do something, or a daydream, or your mind's always going to try and deviate away. It's always going to try and see. That's what you have to notice. That's the matrix. That's the mind, like pulling you into the dream. After, onto itself in the void, just because incompleteness in the absolute is completely complete. You have everything. So remember, there's nothing to correct. There's no direction to go. There's nothing to get. So every time you're going somewhere in a direction or you feel drive, it's because you're not identifying in the absolute self. You're identifying with the limited ego, which is incomplete and is at danger And there's things that are wrong which need to be corrected. There's things that need to be defended against. There's things that need to be taken care of. Otherwise, I will die. I will diminish because there's external forces that are out there to kill me. You know what I'm saying? So you need to kind of put yourself in a safe environment. There's nothing's happening. But you turn off all the stimulation, everything. You just sit there and you just rest in symmetry for an hour, 2 hours, just every day if you can, as much as you can. Just sit there. Just don't even just like your mind's gonna oscillate. Just bring it back. Just actually just and you're gonna feel it. It's gonna start burning. You're gonna feel it. You have to rest with that. It's burning like out your demons, so to speak. You have to kind of just be able to just like realize, oh, everything I'm doing is acts as a compulsion. It's like the algorithm. The algorithm's just if this then that. If I'm in a room with nothing to do, I go on the PlayStation. If I'm here and there's nothing, I scroll on Instagram. Like your brain automatically has things to fill in the gap, fill in the blank all the time. Fill in the blank. Must be busy. Must be running from the void. Can't look at the void. You just can't look it deep in the eyes. It's just too much for you. Like you just can't hack it. Just actually just rest in and just look at it just directly in the eyes and just you just have to be with the voids. Have to just like you have to kind of dissolve. Like it's gonna be, and then you have to just slowly just allow it to just be, and nothing. You can't correct it. You just have to unconditional love. Allow it. Hands off the wheel. You have to kind of become like God itself. Hands off the wheel. Unconditional. You just have to let it be for what it is. So instead of trying to always correct the world, you're just accepting it for the truth of the matter, what it is right now, here now. It is that. Nothing needs to be changed. Nothing needs to be done. Just rest here now. And then even your body, like you even might see me, like certain times your body might twitch by itself, or you might get a bit like itch. That's fine, like a little itch or whatever. But you just have to hold the actual intention. You're just actually not doing anything. Like if it does, like, you don't have to be perfect. No one's perfect, but just. So you're stepping from in time to out of time. Because remember, the doer, you're letting go of the doer, the thinker, the actor. Doing, acting is always in time. So now, instead of going into the loop, you're just you're not even allowing that gap or space. No, you're just actually remain adamant. No, you're not even allowed a gap for a thought to arise. No, you're just no gap, no time, no space, no nothing. You're just in eternity now, here now. Is there anything else I need to say? I don't think so. And when you're just first practicing, you should practice, like, for example, meditation and these things with your eyes closed. But then once you've reached to a certain point, then you can even, it is better to meditate with your eyes closed, but then you'll even realize, like, remember how I was telling you with the third eye open? And then you'll even realize there's not even a difference if my eyes are closed or open, if there's vision or not, if I'm seeing or not seeing. Like, you can see what you can't see. Even if your eyes are closed, you're seeing, like, the absence of sight. You can never not see. You're seeing the absence of sight. You're seeing the thing is filled or it's not filled, but you're seeing the absence of it. So, like, it doesn't even matter. Even if like your eyes are, you can like remember how I was saying like black is black. No one needs to see it. So this is a practice. Like right now, you're here and you're so conditioned, like energetically, you think that I need to look to see it. Like just look at the screen right now, yeah. But like recognize you don't have to look. Like just stop looking. Like have your eyes pointing in that general direction, but just practice, just not looking, not registering what that is. Just look in the direction, but just like recognize like your mind has to put on the label and like your mind, you're actively saying, shh, that's a laptop. Like you have to zone it, shh, put that in the box, that's a laptop. If not, there will just be a form. There will just be shapes and colors. There will just be shapes and colors. That's it. Just shapes and colors with no like anything meaning. Like there's not really a laptop. There's just a shape and a color. That's it. Just a shape and a color. And like no one needs to look at it for it to be there. It's seeing itself. It's just there. So same way, like it's best to practice with your eyes open, but even with your eyes closed, but even with your eyes open, like there could be some. As long as see, the problem is everyone else is still going to be identified. So there will be something in your visual field, and you'll look at it. You'll be like looking into it, and then see that's already activating the ego and the mind because you have to kind of imagine there's just a bright light. Like one sec, I can go on my phone. There was one thing that actually showed this quite well. I have so many things on my phone that could kind of like show this stuff, but I don't really use it enough in these videos. One sec, let's see. Give me a moment. See, it's that feeling of impatience already. That's the see. When is he gonna get there? Like, see, that's the ego's always impatient. It's always trying to skip to the next moment as well. It can't just sit with what's here now. Always trying to escapism. Yeah. Like for example, like this thing, yeah. Wait. How can I put this in? Yeah, so like you see how like you could kind of imagine like this is just the pure light. It's just a white light just shining at everything with no form. That's kind of pure consciousness. And then this is kind of like your mind, which is like refracts. It's kind of like in the cinema, it's shining the bright light, but then it's like the thing that is like going through, which filters it and puts it into a particular form and separates it into these different colors and these different forms. That's kind of like your mind. But you can also, like people, the general person, this is on all the time without them knowing, just subconsciously. But you can get to a place to where you actively can turn that off and allow it to just only be the bright light that shines on itself, and it doesn't even become a particular form. Like as you're the one that's looking at the thing, remember the quantum mechanics, that's like your mind doing the filter and collapsing it, the wave function, into that form. But you can practice just not collapsing anything into anything and just allowing it to just be pure potential, just not no form in particular. It's just the void, just the field. So yeah. Let me see. I have all kinds of things on Instagram, like these little. See, like sorry, it keeps on. I don't know why it's like that. too much bright light. The light's too much information. Can't be seen. Can't be deciphered. Oh my days. Um, yeah, I don't know why it's moving like that. It's like, even for example, like this. Ah, why? Why is it moving like this? Oh, I'm walking over here. Forget about it. Yeah, I guess I can't do that, man. It's too much truth. Um, but yeah, I think that was, I don't know, another random one. Um, but yeah.